Welcome to the Record Machine Show podcast. And now, here's your host, James Michael Hollenstein.
We're excited to present an outstanding show today. It is my honor to interview John Pronto, a talented singer-songwriter from New Jersey. He is celebrated for his captivating rhythms. His refined musicianship and laid-back songwriting produce a compelling sound, rich with memorable hooks. In line with our customary approach, we will commence the show with a musical piece. I am pleased to share with you Lights. Just listened to Lights by John Pronto, and I'm pleased to announce I have him on the line for an interview. John, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Where are you calling from today?
I am right outside Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. I grew up in Jersey too.
Oh, where at?
I grew up in a town called Richfield Park.
Oh, yeah, so that's more north, right? It's Bergen County?
Yeah, you know where Hackensack is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's right in that area over there.
Yeah. I used to work up at Fairleigh Dickinson University up there, so it's not right there, but North Jersey, it's somewhat close, I'd say.
Yeah, so you've lived in New Jersey your whole life?
Yeah, so I'm originally from this town out west, in Jersey. It's called Hillsborough.
Okay.
So I'm originally from there, and then I was in Ewing for a couple of years because I went to the college in New Jersey. And then ever since then, I got a job. I've been working down the shore and been good. I like it down here. It's got a good little music scene, especially like Asbury, like that whole area for not being a city has got like a good good vibe to it, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever played at the Stone Pony yet?
No, I would love to, just because it's like it's a place that I've always wanted to play at. There, Wonder Bar, like those are places I'd love to get into, but I haven't gotten the chance yet.
Yeah. That would be great, man. If you get like an open mic night at like Stone Pony, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so like the Asbury scene, I feel like is kind of tough to like, you know, I feel like you got to know the people that are booking these shows. So I was just at the Asbury Park Brewery last week. So I was playing there. So that was a good vibe down there too. But yeah, just trying to make my way into like that whole scene down here would be great.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I left New Jersey in 2018. I'm in North Myrtle Beach now in South Carolina.
Nice, dude. South Carolina is awesome. I was just down in Charleston last year, and I hadn't been for like 10 years, and like it's just as good as I remember it.
Yeah, it's real cool, and there's a good music scene here as well. I think you would probably do pretty well down here. There's some good places that you would fit right in playing.
Yeah, no, I'd always love. I played a show in Asheville last year. It was like my first solo gig kind of deal. I was just down there, like we did like a road trip. Now we did like Asheville, and we drove to Charleston. So that was like the first time I ever like played by myself was down in Asheville, and like I would say, yeah, like I got probably more of that like Carolina sound than I would being from New Jersey. But like that's like all my musical like inspiration, people I love to listen to is sounds like that southern like influence is really is kind of what I love the most, like that kind of stuff.
Right. So tell me about your musical background. When did you first get involved in music?
So I kind of played music, like I started music like later in life. Like I know a lot of people start like they're younger, like in high school. Like I was a big football guy for like a long time. So but just, playing football, playing sports and doing all those kinds of things. I mean, I always loved music, but it's not something that I really like ever thought about doing until I was really in college. I got hurt and I couldn't play football anymore. And I was like, well, I need something to do with, especially in college, like with all your time. So I just kind of started playing when I was like, maybe like 18, 19. And then I just kind of haven't stopped and had a couple bands along the way. And I still do play with my whole band Pronto, but my drummer just had a baby, and he's been my friend since we were in high school together. He's probably the only reason why I passed chemistry. He's just I would just cheat off him the whole time. But he had a baby now, so it's like we'll still go out and play shows and stuff like that. But it's gotten a little more difficult as we've gotten a little bit older. Like, life gets in the way a little bit. But that's kind of like how I started playing, and it takes up a lot of my time these days too.
So would you consider yourself a solo artist now, like a singer-songwriter, solo artist?
I mean, I probably do more of those things. I kind of write more for that than I would, doing more of my band stuff. But I would say it's probably like half and half. Like I always associate myself with like my band Pronto as probably above me, but I just, it's been good for me to just kind of get out and start, writing some of my own songs, because it's both music that I love. Like that's definitely more like indie rock, and I would say my own solo type of stuff is more like Americana music than it would be like indie rock. And there's definitely hints of that, because that's definitely a part of my big influences and stuff too, especially being in like the Philly scene. Like my drummer went to Temple, so he would always take us to these like indie shows and like house shows and people's basements, and you find some interesting cats down there. But like that was always so cool. But love that like Philly indie rock sound, stuff like that too.
That's pretty cool. Now, you mentioned influences. Who were some of your earliest musical influences growing up?
I love Zeppelin. It's probably my number one. I know it's kind of like a cop-out answer, but like I just think Zeppelin like put me down like this rabbit hole. Because like, well, my parents still like, both of my parents are pretty big into music. They don't play or anything like that, but different musical influences. Like my mom is probably more like the Clash and like the Police, and like she likes like Rod Stewart, and like that's how I figured out like Faces and stuff like that. Like just Rod Stewart's voice is just like iconic. Where my dad's probably more like on the heavier side, where it's like Sabbath, like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, like all of those. And then actually my first concert I ever went to was at the old Giant Stadium. The Police.
Nice.
This was the first show I went to. I was probably like, I think I was like 8, and that show, I still remember that show. That show was awesome.
Oh, I'm
Shame
sure
those guys can't get along. You know?
Yeah, great band.
But so just kind of like a mix of that, and then you just kind of, I love like the 90s stuff too, like grunge and like, Nirvana and Soundgarden and the Meat Puppets is a good one too.
Yeah, they were great.
I think.
Backwater, right?
Yeah,
good stuff.
So like all of those kinds of things, and then it kind of took me like a little bit later on, like to figure out like, oh, like I love this like old school like classic country stuff too, like the Johnny Cashes of the world, and just going down like that whole rabbit hole too, like Dwight Yoakam. Like growing up, I never listened to any of that stuff because it wasn't anything my parents were into, and it's taken me 20 years to figure out that there's that all existed. So that's the cool part about music too, is just figure out things either that you weren't ready to listen to yet, that kind of changes your taste and perspective, or just things that like you've just never discovered. And like that's like the coolest part about music to me, is like listening to something and be like, I can't believe I've never heard this like before,
Right. Yeah, I mean, growing up, I didn't listen to country music at all. And then once I moved down to here, I got into it more.
More of the mainstream stuff I'm kind of out on. I've become more of like a country snob myself too, because like the newer stuff I feel like is all it's kind of what's happened to, I feel like, the like hip hop community. Like it's drifted away from being like super original and authentic into kind of like, I feel like it's like this money machine now.
Right.
But I mean, there's some of the newer stuff that I definitely like. But do you know who like Charlie Crockett is?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, like, but that's like the kind of like, I guess, country Americana. Like it feels more like authentic to me too. But I saw him in Brooklyn last summer, and like he was awesome. So
that's cool. Your latest release is titled 5-Pack Live at Cart Studios. Can you talk about that release a little bit?
So yeah, those were just a couple songs that I wanted to put out on my own. So Cart Studios is in Philly, and like those guys do an awesome job. They always have bands coming in and out, but like going down there just in a space that I knew, because as a full band we kind of went down there and recorded some things. But just going down there and being in a studio where you kind of know the lay of the land, and you feel a little bit more comfortable there than maybe going like with somebody else that I hadn't recorded with. But there was 5 songs on there that I just kind of wanted to get out and just kind of put down, and just kind of have something to show for spending all the time. Like you just sit and write music, or it's kind of most of my like afternoons when I come home and stuff like that, is just sitting and writing and putting that stuff out there. But that was a really good kickoff for me, and I like the way that it kind of came out, just being on my own. I never really released anything on my own before. Like there was a little demo I released before that was just 3 songs, but this one felt like getting better and more familiar, kind of like by myself,
Right.
because it's the first time I've ever really done that. But I think it just has a good reflection of just kind of the sound that I'm going for. And I think sooner rather than later, I got a couple more. Like, I think that those 5 songs kind of kicked me off and being like, oh, like it gave me kind of the confidence to keep writing and keep putting out more things. So I think it's like 8 more songs that I'm going to try to record and put out at some point, probably over the summer. Just because you got to strike while the iron's hot and just kind of keep on your grind there. And then if I'm not writing or I'm not trying to record stuff, I get antsy, I get bored. So it's good to keep myself busy, you know?
Yeah. And the first one that you put out was called the Outpost Demos, right?
Mm-hmm. That was the first one I released, which those were songs I was still writing when we were doing more of the full band stuff, probably more consistently. But it just kind of didn't like fit into our sound and what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of kept them and hung on to them for a little while. And then once I kind of started playing my own shows and do more like just even open mic stuff and kind of building up more courage, I was like, let me put these out there and kind of see. And then it just kind of has snowballed from there. Then the next that's only 3 songs. So then this one's 5. And then hopefully I can get, like I said, the next probably I think it's going to be like 8 or 9 out over the summer as kind of more of a full length thing, you know?
Yeah. And they're both available on Amazon.com. I know that because I picked both of them up the other day and I listened to them all week. Very good stuff. Well done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear.
You're welcome. And let's talk about some songs. I'm going to feature 2 of your songs, one being Lights and the other one titled No Poison. What's the story behind those 2 songs?
So Lights is probably, I would say, like the most personal song I've ever written. So like kind of where I grew up in Hillsborough was like this cool little community where like we have like 5 acres, but it backs up to this whole preserve. So it's like this cool, like my road's not paved. It's like this cool, like hillbilly community where it's all like blue collar workers and stuff like that. So like growing up, like I was really close with our whole neighborhood and all that stuff. So as we got a little bit older, like high school, college, like being, you know, young adults, right? Like a lot of these guys I grew up around, like either got really sick or they died. Wow. So like the lights burn out at the edge of town is just kind of like my ode to like those guys. Cause like those guys, you know, your dad and, you know, growing up shows you a lot of different stuff and like shows you how to kind of do a lot of things. But like, I think those guys, I know like a lot about who I am as a person to a lot of stuff that those guys showed me, just kind of how to act and things like that. So that's kind of like my tribute to those guys. Cause they were important to me for sure. So that's just to put something out there like that, I think it was cool for me.
Mm-hmm. And No Poison.
And then, and that one is just kind of something where I just feel like people try to kind of hide themselves from who you really are. And sometimes you don't want to, you know, kind of open yourselves up to things. Like there's a line in there. It's like the fortress I've become is just kind of blocking a lot of things out and kind of closing yourself off to other people. So that one's probably a little less personal as like a story, but it's just kind of like a general theme for just kind of how people are, you know?
Yeah. What I did was I picked one off of each release, give them a little taste, you know?
Yeah.
Can you describe your typical songwriting process? Do you begin with the lyrics or the melody?
For me, it's always melody music. Like it's always some kind of like little riff or some kind of chord progression that I'll start with. And then I kind of color everything else in with the words. I wish I could do it the other way around. I wish I could write lyrics out and put music over it. And I'm sure if I really like tried, I could force it, but I feel like that never works the right way, you know? But I kind of use what the chord progression is like, whether like minor or major chords, like what does this sound like? And like just kind of getting a melody down. And then, you know, my voice memos are like, you know, taking up so much space in my phone because that's all it is. It's just is the chord progression melodies. And then I'll like listen back to it, especially when I'm in the car. I think it's great because what I've kind of found is like when I just sit and I'm writing and I'm just trying to get words down, at least for that first part, I'm thinking too hard about it. But then I think if I'm driving or I'm doing like I'm walking outside or I'm doing something else where I'm like your body is moving, so it's more like that subconscious thought process. I think that has always been like a better way to go about it. Like for me, at least, getting words down, and then after that, it's kind of like a canvas. Like, where I would say it's always like a block of clay. It's like you got this block of clay. Like, what do you want to make this into? And
right.
Slowly you kind of carve out the details and the parts until it, you know, turns into something that is kind of recognizable as a song. But I think like even some of my songs I've released, I'm like, I don't know if it's 100% done. Like, they never feel done,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, they're get to a point where I think I will try to tweak things too much, and then it gets too far away from what the initial idea might be or could be, you know?
Cool. Now, you mentioned earlier that you've been working on some songs. Is there a timeline as to when you may release another EP or album, and when can we expect it?
I'm trying. I mean, it's always hard. So what I think I might do is, for these new ones, because I was thinking about this this week too, is I think I might just kind of mic it on my own with the vocals and the guitar, and just try to see on the production side kind of what I can do with it. If I even, you know, have to go to maybe another studio to do that, just for convenience sake. So I'm going to try to get those at least recorded by the beginning of the summer, and hopefully by the time the summer is over, I'll have, like I said, probably 8 to 10 out that I think sound a little bit different than the things I have out now. And I think it just comes from just being more comfortable writing
Mm-hmm.
songs just by myself. So I think I'm going to say at some point in the summer. I don't want to be held to anything in particular, but that's what I'm thinking.
Now, do you have any plans to release a music video for any of the tracks that you've put out so far?
That's a good question. I mean, I definitely would. I think I have some type of, I don't know if it would be like a music video, so to speak, but like more of a kind of a live performance video somewhere in Philly.
Okay.
Probably the beginning of May, and I might put out two new songs for that. And I think I might cover a song to that too. A cover I've been playing a lot recently that I've really liked, because I usually don't play covers, but I was playing "Hang Me Up to Dry" by Cold War Kids.
Nice. So
that's been a fun cover to do. So I think I might put that out there at some point too. Just because I love that song, and it's super simple, but it's awesome. It's just such a good song, and it reminds me of like being like a kid again, kind of too, because that song's very nostalgic for me, I feel like.
Yeah, good song. How do you see the rise of independent artists and the DIY approach changing the music landscape?
So, I mean, I think with that whole thing too, like, I think, what is it? There's like, I heard this stat the other day. It's like there's more songs that get uploaded to Spotify every day, or like to streaming platforms every day,
mm-hmm.
than all of 1989 or something crazy like that. Like something nuts, which I think it's a great thing, because there's so many bands and artists that I would never know about if it was back then. And there was like that whole gatekeeper society thing of people who were in the music world, and there's just so many people that you never heard. So I just think it's cool that you can do that. Like, you know, even for me, like if it was 30 years ago, like people probably wouldn't hear my music. But now you could search my name on Spotify right next to Led Zeppelin. And those are two categories that I would never think that they would be even next to each other music wise. Like, so I think that part of it's really cool. But there is, I would say, like oversaturation of music and industry and all that kind of stuff too. But to me, like, I think it's cool to just be able to find new stuff all the time, every day. And like, even just the world of like social media and Instagram, and like finding these cool, like little, like all these like cool, like little solo performance things that, you know, you could buy a camera and put it up and get some mics and an interface, and you basically have like a movable studio and production, and, you know, all that stuff has just become so accessible. So I think that's a real positive thing for music, because like I said, you wouldn't find these people ever anywhere else. So I think it's awesome where it's going, and you know, how it's been like that for a couple of years now is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Where can the listeners go to learn more about you?
I would probably just say my social media. So really just Instagram for me, and it's just at John_Pronto. But that's really where I kind of put everything out there. I probably need to do a better job about social media and using other platforms, but like, I'm not like a huge TikToker. I know that's like a big thing in the music community. So I probably should do more on that side of things, but really just the Instagram stuff, I'll just kind of put everything, like whether it's shows or releases or whatever I'm doing, it's all really there.
Yeah, and you guys have a YouTube page too, but there's not a lot of content up there yet, right?
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely like, just having the visual part of it too, and I probably should get on it more, because like a bunch of my friends are film majors and love to do that stuff. But you know, for me, like, I just have to find more of a time to do that. Like, if it's film something or go like play a show, like in the amount of time I have, like, I would rather go out and play and kind of do that whole thing. But it's definitely something I probably should do more, but it's just finding the time. Yeah,
and you should get a Facebook page too.
Yeah, that's another one too
for the band.
And you know, you could just post all that stuff all in one shot too. So I gotta up my game a little bit on the social media part. But
yeah, spread the word, you know.
Yeah.
Do you have an X account or not? No.
No, that's too. Like, that's another thing I gotta get up to speed on. It's really just Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is a great platform, because that's where I find a lot of my guests is actually from Instagram. Because when they run ads, I see them when I'm like just looking at the feed, and then if I like them, I follow them, and then I start looking at their videos, and if I think they're cool and stuff, then I'll just send them an email and invite them on, and you know, most of the time they say yes, which I think is pretty cool. So,
well, that's the coolest thing about like the music world, like in just today, like having that social media thing too, is like you could just, you know, contact people. You're like, your stuff's awesome, and people are usually pretty receptive to even doing stuff. Like I've booked shows. Like I played a show in Philly, like probably like a month or so ago, with these people that just I needed to find some other bands, and I looked up some Philly bands that I thought were cool, and just asking these bands to do it, and everybody showed up. It's crazy when that kind of stuff happens, you know.
You found me on Instagram, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like finding just podcasts or you know, musicians or just cool pages and stuff like that is it's a rabbit hole that I think sucks up a lot of my time during the day.
Right.
But it's good results a lot of the time.
I think I might have followed your page, right? Is that what happened? I followed you, and then you sent me a message, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think you followed me, and I was like, oh, this podcast looks cool. Like, let me see if this guy will have me on. And you were – I appreciate that, by the way. Like,
no problem, man.
like, yeah, like, give me a call. Let's talk about this. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I love when people reach out to me. I think it's great. Like I said, when I see somebody I think is cool, I usually follow their page, and then when I get around to it, I'll either send them an email. Sometimes they'll beat me to it, and they'll send me a message and say, "Hey, you doing interviews? Can I come on the show?" and stuff like that. And I always say yes. I love talking to other people and having them on the show and promoting their music.
Yeah, no, dude, you do a great job. Like just having people on that, just kind of getting their foot in the door. Like it's just finding where you can get some exposure and some people that don't know who you are.
Exactly. Now, is there anything you'd like to mention that we didn't talk about tonight?
I don't know. I got some shows coming up. So if anybody is in the greater tri-state area, I'll be at the Fire in Philly on the 29th, and then I'll be at First Live in Brooklyn on April 19th. Which is one's a Friday, one's a Saturday. So weekend shows, and yeah. So those are my big announcements. I don't have anything too crazy for you.
Well, that's awesome. Well, John, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, man. I really had a great time chatting with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing those new songs when they come out, because the ones I've heard so far, they're awesome.
Well, hey man, thanks. I appreciate you having me on. This was cool, and I'll keep you updated when that stuff is coming out, and I'll reach out to you when it's crossed the threshold out there into the streaming platform world.
Yeah, let's stay in touch, and you got my number, I got yours, and if you want to come back on when the new stuff drops, I'd love to have you back. All right?
Yeah, man, I'd love that. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You're the man.
You're welcome, buddy. Like I said, anytime. Love to have you back. All right?
All right, that sounds great. You have a great night.
All right, you too, buddy. You take care.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Thank you for your time, John. It was a pleasure chatting with you. As we wrap up the show, let us take a moment to enjoy a song. Presenting No Poison.
Last one. Moving on. All right, ready? Ain't no poison that I can't feel in my lungs. Cost me a lifetime, made like poetry in the sun. Give me a reason why you wound up like a drum. Ain't no pause in the fortress I become. Come and let it go, Mercury. Come and let it go, Mercury. Ain't no torches in a canyon mine's deep. Toss me a lifeline, what you sow is what you keep. Give me a reason why you wanna go and swim upstream. Ain't no torches when you're out here living the dream. Come and let it go, Mercury. Come and let it go, Mercury. Burning like a soul that I just can't keep clean. Bouncing back and forth to find some sweet relief. Burning like a soul that I just can't keep clean. Bouncing back and forth just like Mercury. Like Mercury. Ain't no poison that I can't feel in my lungs. Toss me a lifeline, made like a portrait in the sun. Give me a reason why you're wound up like a drum. ain't no pause in the fortress I've become. Gonna let it go, Mercury. Gonna let it go, Mercury. You'll never know, Mercury. Gonna let it go, Mercury.
The Record Machine Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Howell Productions. All rights reserved. For information regarding distribution or adding this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.
The Record Machine Show.